So, guys, we got Vigilante in the building. The high value Sigma male is what he goes by. So, Vigilante, why don't you tell people who you are, introduce yourself, let them know what you do, give them a little information about yourself.
So I go by vigilante for market steel and the other industries where I have to use my government. And I do a multitude of a lot of different things. People mostly know me for my acting roles and for the songs that I've done. Other people know me for my business ventures, and me myself, I just consider myself a mogul, philanthropist, humanitarian.
What kind of acting roles have you been in any movies?
Yeah, I've been in a lot of movies. I've probably been in like 20 movies, 20 TV shows, probably done like over 300 background sets. And then, I've done some leads, some featured, some co star, just, all over the place from 2015 all the way up until 2020, possibly. And the acting world changed tremendously when COVID hit because
Yeah.
there's a minimum of like 50 to 100 people on set at a time when you're shooting a movie. And that just completely deteriorated once COVID hit. So I'm waiting on the money and the opportunities to come back, and then I'll be back on set.
Cool. So, how does someone like, all right, someone's fresh out, you say they're like 18, they're young black men. How would they like get started in acting if they wanted to pursue that?
Oh, that's easy. First, you just got to know what market you in. Like if you're in LA, New York, Texas, Florida, Atlanta, like the hot spots, or are you in a small market? Are you in Oregon? Are you in Maine? Are you in Rhode Island? Are you in Oklahoma? Like you got to understand
Right.
what market you're in. And then you have to understand the major casting companies that cast for the big movies that you may want to be in. So if you're in a small market, you could be just as successful as being a person that's in a big market, because if you're in a small market, you may be the only person that understands all of the accessible materials that are in your area. And if you're in a big market, you're going to be, I'm not going to say going to be successful, but you're going to have more opportunities to be successful because there's going to be stuff that's filming. Like as we're talking right now, there's probably like 50 movies filming right now.
Right.
The pay for those movies might be garbage, but if you're entry level, you don't care because you're just trying to fill your resume.
Right. You're just trying to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
I always say like you gotta leave your hometown at some point and explore. Like, unless your hometown is a big city, you should probably just explore different big cities like L.A., New York City, Miami. Houston is a big one that's coming up. Usually, when you stay in those like smaller cities, you're not gonna get as many opportunities as you would if you like just moved to a bigger city and went through those challenges.
Yeah, people should just travel as a whole. You learn different stuff. You feel different ways. Like
Hmm.
I started talking to an African girl about almost like a year ago, and she had only been in America for like 2 months. She was a foreign exchange student. She spoke fluent French, so when she talked to me, I can understand what she was saying. Weirdly, I
Right.
don't speak French, but I can understand her because I'm African American, and
Hmm.
I'm not supposed to be talking like this. I was stolen from my homeland and given a new language and a new religion. So now I speak the same way that my oppressors speak. So when I look at her, I'm like, this is how I'm supposed to really act and dress and look, because where I come from is where you're from.
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I mean that that goes for a lot of things though, religion, the way we think, capitalism. The way I see it, I try not to dwell too much on the past and, just try to focus on what we could do now and better our people now. And, she's coming from Africa to come here. She's probably getting more opportunities here than she would in her own home country. That's why she's here, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I ain't really go. I don't really know too much of the story in detail, but I just know that it definitely piqued my interest and caught my attention when me and her are out and she's speaking English to me, and somebody starts talking French and she starts talking
Yeah.
to them in French, and it's just like in America. What we don't understand about America is that America is a melting pot. America doesn't
It
have
is.
culture. America's culture is two cultures. It's the watering down of every other culture and the over exaggeration of every other culture. There is no
Yeah.
middle ground.
Hmm.
So Either when you come here, they're either going to dilute you to be like everybody else, or they're going to highlight you for being different from everybody else. And that's the culture of America.
I in my opinion, I feel like America is just what you make of it. You don't have to follow anybody's culture, or you could follow somebody's culture. Just the freedom of choice. You know, and personally, I think there's too many options. But I always say if you're a man that doesn't believe in something, you'll fall for anything. So you gotta be careful with that too. You know.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So high value Sigma male. Let's talk
Hmm.
about it.
Okay.
You want to break that down for the people? What does that mean exactly?
Well, I guess I would more so, if you don't mind,
Mhm.
rather you break down the intangibles of what you think that the people may be confused about or want me to go more in depth in specifically, and then I'll touch on that.
Uh, so speaking on behalf of the people, I would say it's a combination of a high value man and a Sigma male put together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had conversations about what a high value man is, and I believe a high value man is, very similar to what Kevin Samuel says, but there's also different opinions that other people have on high value man. But the main conclusion is that a high value man is rare. It takes a lot to accomplish, and it takes time to become a high value man. Um, a Sigma male, I would say, is someone who's just below an alpha male but above a beta male. Does that kind of coincide with what your definition is?
Not necessarily. Let me run it from the top. So from the high value male thing, the last time that we spoke, I told you that I agreed with Kevin Samuel's synopsis of it, but
Yeah.
I felt like some of the points were a little bit rigid, like the $100,000 cap for the year. I feel
Hmm.
like a person who makes $70,000 can live the exact same life as a person who makes $100,000. So if that line is that skewed to where they're literally doing the exact same thing, then I got to consider that 70,000 earner as long as he's on his purpose, has the same charisma, has the same drive, has the same this, has the same that. Then they're both considered high value. Somebody with 50,000 can be investing better than a person with 100,000 and turn his 50,000 into 200,000 the next year, and the person can lose a whole 100,000 the following year. So it's more parameters that have to be set as far as to what a high value man is. And when I look at it, I look at the longevity of it. It's not
Hmm.
about today. It's not about yesterday. It's about tomorrow, and it's about projections.
Right.
Um, like when we were talking, and when we were talking about finances, and I showed you my extra debit card, and I told you that every single time that I pay for something, I get an on-time payment on all three credit bureaus. So let's say that I get a late payment next month. That's going to tank my score about 5, 10, maybe 20 points. But I know that with that card, I can just make 3 or 4 payments and curve out the one payment that was late. And then I know that um it's gonna the ratio of it is going to remain a good ratio while I'm still disputing the late payment to make sure that it's valid, and then still write my goodwill letters to get it off since it's just one.
Right.
Having that knowledge and being able to pass that down to my children, to my significant other, to my business partners, to my friends, to my loved ones, that's a high value conversation.
I see what you're saying. So longevity, right? And to Kevin Samuel's point, he does say you have to make at least 10,000 adjusted to your city. So 100,000 in New York City isn't really 100,000 compared to like 100,000 in like Texas or something like that. I
Hmm.
think if you're like New York City, 100,000 is more to like 150,000 or something. It just depends on your city. But also with that, he was saying for at least 5 to 10 years. So there's that aspect of like longevity to it. And to your example, that mindset you have when it comes to like being financial savvy is one of those high value traits that men should have when it comes to that longevity aspect, because you could have $1 million today and then lose it tomorrow. So
Hmm.
without that longevity aspect, without that financial savviness, you're never gonna be a high value man, you know?
Yeah. And then, and I 100% agree. It's business decisions that I've made 10 years ago that I'm not going to say I regret doing, but
Mhm.
I've learned from it. And I realize exactly what, like, I'll give you an example. We bought a family house in Douglasville for $280,000. And then my mom sold it for four something, almost a half a million. And in her eyes, that was the greatest thing ever because it was a six-figure flip. In
Right.
my eyes, that was the stupidest thing that we ever could have done because that house is probably worth either 7 or 8 right now, and is going to be worth 1 point something in the next 2 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a net positive when you look at it, but in terms of how much you could have gained, it was definitely like definitely missed out. But that also comes down to, everybody's situation. Maybe I don't know if she needed the money right away for in that instance. But I think the mindset of like building generational wealth is something we need to have too when it comes to, being financial savvy and high value. You also need to learn how to pass down certain assets to your kids and set them up in a way where they're not just like, struggling when they come out. So,
Yeah. And we have the only demographic in the world that has done that since the beginning of time. Well,
yeah.
not in Africa, but since we were enslaved all the way
Mhm.
up until current day, we are the first generation to actually pass assets down to our children,
Yeah.
even start to talk about it. And
Even
I,
owning
you know,
assets.
and owning asset and knowing what assets are and how to get them
Yeah.
and how to, so the other day, I'm 13 weeks away from closing on my penthouse, and one of my friends was like, congratulations on becoming a homeowner. And it was kind of weird to me because becoming a homeowner is not, to me, it's not something that should be rare. If you have enough to pay for first and last month's rent and you have a good enough credit score to get into an apartment complex, you have enough to make a down payment on a home, and you have a
Mhm.
good enough credit score for you to be able to get a loan.
Yeah.
The problem with us black people is that if our parents don't, can we curse on here?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, if our parents don't fuck our shit up, then we do it. And by the time that we figure out that it was done, it's almost damn near too late. You in your late 30s trying to credit repair, and now the process is so slow because it's only you that's doing it, and everybody else around you is content with the fact that they stuff is messed up. They're renting forever, making somebody else $20,000, $30,000 a year on top of the equity in whatever building that it is that they own. So that person is just slowly becoming a billionaire. So of course they're going to give you more 3 day extension on this and a 4 day extension on that. You think they doing you a favor? You doing them a favor by
Yeah.
continuing to stay on the hamster wheel. And to me, like what Andrew Tate says, you have to realize you got to smack the wall and realize that you're in the matrix and that they're watching you in order
Yes.
for you to be able to come high value. If you don't
Yeah.
understand that you're in the matrix, you can't become high value. That's woman or male. It's impossible.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, and this is just pure anecdotal evidence, right? So my parents used to talk about like how it was so, and they're immigrants from like Jamaica. It was so hard for them to even get pre-approval from the bank starting off because they had no work history. They were just fresh citizens and they just got married or whatever. So no bank is really giving them loans, right? But they did have other ways of saving up money where like other immigrant families would do things called Susus, right? Where they
Mm,
would pool in money and the other people would pool in money. And nowadays people are talking about it like it's a scam, but back in the day when people were actually using it to build wealth and start and have a start to build families,
yeah.
it was a good alternative option to these bank loans that they're not giving out. And then when you take into consideration the housing crisis that happened back in 2008, where they
Mhm.
were just handing out dummy loans and interest rates at like 20%, so many black communities got messed over by that, right? And then what happens? They get traumatized and they tell kids, don't take out any credit cards. Don't take out any loans in your name. Oh, don't go to college because you have too much loan debt. Not knowing that America is built on debt. Like you're never really truly going to escape debt. The only way you can
Right.
do it is to make sure that you're bringing in enough money to pay off your debt. But the reality is, we're all going to be in debt. We're all going to die with some type of debt.
Some type of debt. Yeah. Yeah. You're
So
absolutely right.
it's
And there's
crazy how they traumatized us, and it just became like the cycle. And we're just now starting to realize how to break this cycle. This generation is just now starting to realize how to break the cycle. They were gatekeeping for so many decades, yo. That's wild.
and and there's this thing that we don't tap into as black people called refinance. So
Yeah.
if I want to buy a Ferrari and they say, "Yo, you got a 620 credit score. Um, I'll give you this Ferrari for $1,000 a month as your payment." I can make that payment for 12 months, pay $12,000, and then increase my credit score up to a 720 with those one-time payments. Go to
Mhm.
another company and say, "Hey, I want to move this Ferrari debt over here." Restart the payments, and then end up paying $500 a month as opposed to the 1,000 that I was paying. It's a simple fix.
Yeah. Simple loopholes that you know all the other people knew about except us, right? And we're just now, just because the internet came into place and we have this access of resources, we're just now starting to pick up on it and pick up on these loopholes, starting to tell people about these things. But this is definitely something we need, man. Like, this message and the importance of being financial savvy is important in the black community, bro.
Yeah, I'm one of
So
them people
important.
where I try to remain down to earth because I know sometimes my success can be intimidating to people, and
Hmm.
I know how people take Kev when he talked, and people take Tate when he talked, and people take Fresh and Fit when they talk, and I try to
Yeah.
be the most digestible person out of all of them. But the one thing that we all have in common is that some things are just not an option.
Right.
And one of those things is owning your home, not an option. Driving your dream car, not an option. Having a submissive woman that is more family oriented than career oriented. Not saying that she can't have a career, but if she openly expresses out of her mouth that she's going to prioritize her career over a family, not an option. It's just certain things. Having a laptop, not an option. Being on your purpose as a man, not an option. So I don't even keep people around me or play around with people that even think or want me to give them any say. People go through things and I don't care. I don't give a damn. I'm still a dude from Flint, Michigan at the end of the day that came down to Atlanta and became a superstar. If I can come from a place where we can't even get water, and I can come down to a place where it's oversaturated with stars and still become a star, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I think that's so true. But yo, I want to go back to the point you made, but before that, let's talk about your definition of a sigma male. That's the one part we skipped out on.
Oh, got you,
Um,
got you. Okay, so did I give you the Thor Captain America analogy?
no, what is that? Let's hear it.
Oh, okay. All right, I got you. So you watch Avengers, right?
Hmm.
Great series, by the way. Whoever directed that
Yeah.
and whoever wrote that, great job for sure. So Thor, alpha male. He walks around, he lets his nuts drag, and he feels like he's the only person that can beat up everybody. He feels like I'm the supreme ruler. He was defiant to his father in the other Thors, and that's why he got his power stripped away from him until he humbled himself, and then he got his powers back. And even when the Avengers came around, he still was feeling like, I don't give a fuck about no Hawk. I don't give a fuck about no Doctor Strange. I'm the leader.
Right.
That's Thor. So when the Avengers got together and all of them were like, okay, who's going to be there? Okay, this person. Okay, he's going to be there. Okay, Ant-Man, this person, Spider-Man, boom, boom. But at the end of the day, who did they all know was the leader?
I would say it's a tough tie between Iron Man and Thor, man.
It's neither one of them.
Really?
Hmm.
Who? Nick Fury?
Which character was that?
Nick Fury was the
Oh,
Samuel L.
iPad.
Jackson character. Yeah.
Uh, nah,
But
nah. He's
that
not
was
the
back in
leader.
the day, though.
Yeah, he's not the leader either.
So who's the leader?
Captain America.
Captain America's the leader.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you didn't know. You didn't notice that in all of the movies. So what's the call, Cap? So what you want to do, Cap? So what's the word, Cap?
Hmm.
That's a true Sigma male. When you're a when you're the person in a room full of alpha males, but they know that the final word comes down to you, but you never assert your dominance as the leader. You're the person that goes, okay, Thor, we're gonna need you to go over there and do this. And Hawk, since you're the best at doing this, we're gonna need you to do that. And Stark, you the smartest out of all of us. So I'm gonna need you to calculate this right here. And Ant-Man, you can time travel. So take Strange and go do that's a Sigma male.
No, low key, you are right, because even in like the Thanos movie, right? He made the calls. He even picked up Thor's hammer
There you
and
go.
started using it.
The
He
only
had
other
the hammer
person in
and the
the world,
shield.
only other person in the world that was worthy of Thor's
Yeah.
hammer without the power of Thor, Captain America. And that's why the Sigma male and the Alpha male will always be right there.
Mm.
The difference is, imagine two dudes walking out of a restaurant, and one dude has a big old chain and he's throwing money into the air like this, and he's tossing the valet extra hundreds and thousands, and he pulls up and a Ferrari pulls up. And the guy behind him, he has a girl that's just as bad. He has on, a little sweater vest. He chilling. He might have a little plain Jane Rolex on, and the same exact Ferrari pulls up right behind that one. Alpha male, Sigma male.
Right. Mm. So the alpha male is pretty much the one who's always out there, but the sigma male is the person who really makes the calls, but just behind the scenes.
I would argue that they have the exact same power, but they just carry it completely different.
Different,
Like
yeah.
the school bully, that's the alpha male.
Mm-hmm.
The person who stops the school bully from beating up innocent people, that's the sigma male.
Mm. And what's the beta male?
The beta male is the nigga getting his ass whooped. The nigga getting stuffed in the locker going, I guess this is life.
The one who needs saving.
Yeah, that's him.
All right. So say we got a man like that. What would you tell that man? What kind of tips would you give that man to self-improve?
Man, I don't know. That's hard, man. That's hard because every podcast that I do, and you seen me have these sit down with the women,
Mm-hmm.
and every episode that we have, they always ask me, "What do you have to say to the masculine women, to the women who feel like that they don't need a man?" I'm gonna make this come full circle for you.
Okay.
I always say nothing. I don't have nothing to tell them, and they go, "So as vocal as you are, you don't have nothing to say to them." I said, "No, because it's 7.7 trillion people in the world. Half of those are women, and half of those are divine feminine queens. So those are the people that I want to take with me to the promised land, because I only have about 70 years left on this earth. So if I spend my time talking to women who have already openly turned their back on the very same people that they claim that they want, why do I have to do the undoing to redo when I didn't even put them in that position to do that?" There are still
Mm.
women in this world who feel like, I want a strong masculine man. I value the man. I love him. I want to be with him. And I just want that opportunity. I know that I'm not the person that Vigilante may have his eyes on, but what are the steps that I have to do to really become that woman that's suitable for somebody like yourself? And that's the woman that I need to talk to. So I feel the same way about beta men, is that we all come from middle school and high school, and some of us went to college. So we saw examples of the alpha males, the sigma males, and the beta males right in front of us. And
Mm.
all you have to do is pick apart those characteristics of what it is that makes that person alpha, what it is that makes that person sigma, and then just embody them.
Right.
You
I
have it
agree.
within you. The beta male is just scared. That's all that is. And fear will keep you from doing a lot of stuff. And there's nothing I can do or tell you. I can't motivate scared out of you.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I think you can be a beta male, but you cannot stay a beta male. At
Hmm.
some point, you have to choose what type of life you want. You have to choose what type of outcomes you want. You have to, make a conscious choice for yourself and become something different. You don't even have to become a sigma male, but you cannot stay a beta male. Cannot be weak forever in your life as a man. At some point, you have to be competent and strong and be able to express that to the world, be able to show that to the world and show the world who you really are. You know?
I was thinking about this the other day, man. The first time I started celebrity judging back in like 2015, 2016, I met this girl while we was in the club. I go outside and we start talking about what restaurant we was gonna eat at after we got done. She puts me on to a new restaurant. It's right around the corner from the spot we was at. We go, we sit down, we order. She's ordering extra stuff on top of what's on the menu. So either she's been there before, or this has been a place that she wanted to go, that she was
Yeah.
anticipating going to.
Yeah.
So we get our food. I think my food was probably about $10, $15. Her food was about maybe $20, $25. And at the time, I don't have no credit card. I don't have a bank account. I don't like, I'm so financially illiterate. And I'm not all the way a beta male, but I'm not all the way transformed into a sigma male or realizing that that's what I am. So when the bill comes to the table, she just kind of just sits there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grab the bill and I go ahead and I pay the bill, even though that was not something I was expecting to do because we just met like 20 minutes ago. And when the money comes back, this is back when I was carrying cash, is they give me the change for the bill that I think I gave like a 50 or $100 bill. And when I get the money in my hand, she takes the money out of my hand and she puts down on the table how much she feels that I should tip the waiter.
What?
My right hand up to God. So when we left, she texted me the next day and said, "When are we hanging out again?" And then I said, "When you decide whatever you want to pay for us to do."
Uh-oh.
So her response was, um, "If you're the man, this is always your job."
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, "When you have a daughter, do you plan on telling her that she needs to go half on the rent with somebody else?" And my response to that was, my daughter is gonna have multiple properties by the time that she's 16 years old because she has a rich father. And with the teachings of me not only being in her life with her mom, and the fact that she's going to be financially literate takes her out of the rent conversation and puts her right into the mortgage conversation. So that answers that first. And when you when you look at a guy for everything being transactional, that means that you're not looking for a partner, you're looking for an ATM. And if you're a woman that doesn't add value to situations, then you're not a helpmate, you're a mooch. And when I text her that, her response was, "Okay."
Okay. Can I say something here? Can I
Mhm.
say something about that situation? Because I've realized that too. Similar, not that same experience, but similar, right?
Mm.
One thing I realized is that equality and feminist movement that women talking about being equal to a man, that all goes out the window when the check comes. All of it goes out the window when the check comes. They they really don't want someone to be on their level. They want someone better than them, but they want to have the opportunities of that same person and the outcomes of that same person. But when it comes to anything to do with finances, I'll say this: a woman's money is their money,
Mhm.
but the money you make is going to be our money.
Mhm.
And women typically are hypergamous by nature,
Mhm.
and they only date men that are better than themselves. You know,
Yep.
and it took a lot for me to understand that. Because I always believed that when I was younger, in my early 20s, teens, I believe that men and women were equal, right?
Mhm.
So there were dates where I went on and I was like, well, why am I always paying for the first date? and it possibly might not lead anywhere. You know,
Mm,
you might not hear from that woman again. Why am I always paying for the first date? But what I realized is they just talk that they want equality, but it's only equality in situations that benefit them.
yeah,
When it's a situation that doesn't benefit them, they'll try to use words that are going to either guilt you into paying or
there
make you
you go.
think or emasculate you.
Yes,
So when
sir.
she said a man would pay or a man would plan the date,
Yep.
well, when you start talking about traditional men, and that's essentially what she was referring to, you being a traditional man, right? And men not being traditional and men not being chivalrous. We live in a different time.
Hmm.
We live in modern times where we're dealing with modern women and you're dealing with modern men, but they still want to be respected like a traditional woman, but they're not traditional themselves. How many
One.
of the women are actually preserving their sexuality? How many women are actually embracing their femininity?
Yep.
No, instead, she took the money from you that you got and decided to make a masculine choice on her own.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
can she talk about you being a man when she wasn't even a traditional woman? That
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm talking about?
100%. I and you hit the nail right on the head too. It's a lot of intangibles that I want to impact in that. So I had this conversation with somebody just yesterday, and I told them that me personally, I feel like men and women are equal, but we're different. It's kind of like if you ask two people for $1 and one person gives you $1 bill and the other person gives you 4 quarters. That is
Mhm,
equal, but it is different. So the dollar is ink and paper. The quarters are like foil and like the color, the material, but both of those two things are equal in value. And the reason that we don't see the equality the way that this is where us men have to take accountability right here is because we'll hear a woman say or do something that we know is against our moral compass,
mhm,
but we'll be so blinded by her beauty, or we'll be so skewed by the fact that we don't have as many options as we should have.
yeah,
So if you only talk to 3 women and 2 of those women are exhibiting bad behavior, you don't want to just have one woman that you talk to. So you will try to bear with the bad
mhm,
behavior and hope that it gets better.
yeah,
When at the end of the day, if I live how I want to live, drive what I want to drive, on my purpose like I'm supposed to be, my social media is booming, everything is going well, then that 3 turns into 300.
yeah,
And now I don't have to bear with any woman's bad energy. So now the women that do come my way, they love me. They look at me like I'm their dream guy. They walk into my house with a subservient disposition to where they immediately want to clean. They immediately want to go do the dishes. They want to cook. They don't even want to walk in my house without groceries because they know that as a woman, that's not a feminine thing to do. They want to greet you whenever they see you. They want to have positive energy. And when you deal with too many women because you don't have the option of the women that you actually want, sometimes we've become jaded to believe that this is what the new thing is when nothing really has ever changed. It's just the fact that we've accepted more BS that we didn't have to accept
yeah,
because the traditional, non traditional intangibles of our current the current I'm not even gonna say dating market, I'm gonna just say current universe that we live in as a whole. And it's really not until I meet women of different cultures that I talk to, when I see the way that they look at me, just the eye contact,
mhm,
when I feel the disposition and when they talk and when it's my turn to talk, and I see how they pretty much have a visual notepad and they're taking notes of everything that I say, as opposed to the American woman that is completely pushing away all the ideas of progression when it comes to the masculine man because they want, and this I'm gonna tie this back to the equal part right here.
mhm.
The feminist movement is not for equality. The
Stop.
feminist movement is for um what's the word I would use? is for the opportunity to have unfair advantages in loophole situations. So you may not ever make it to the NBA as a woman, but if you marry a man who is an NBA player, you now have all the perks of a man that has sacrificed his entire life to earn an NBA salary.
Mhm.
And when the marriage is over, you now continue to have all the perks of a man who has sacrificed his entire life to have an NBA salary. And any woman who agrees with these practices are women that we need to strongly ignore, because women love attention and validation. If a woman is twerking right in front of you and you walk away, she'll stop. And I think that that's a huge element that we have missed, because as men, we never knew how important our attention and validation was from the beginning.
So true. We didn't know that our attention is currency to women until
Yeah,
now, until we started talking about it in spaces like this.
yeah,
I didn't even know it. Like I was like a couple years ago, I was following a whole bunch of girls who were models, IG models on Instagram, didn't follow me back, just liking their photos, commenting. I didn't know all of that was currency. All of that was gassing their head up. So you have to realize, take a look at what you're doing, take a look at like what your brand is. A lot of men don't even have a brand. So the first step is to like just build that out and then look at how much attention you're giving out to women who just truly don't deserve it.
yeah, yeah.
And going back to your point, how like women and men are equal but different, right?
Mhm.
I'll say this. I think that men and women are not equal. I think we're complementary. So we fit together like a puzzle piece. Like we're like the universe and God, whoever you believe in, put us here together for a purpose,
Mhm.
right? It wasn't for us to be running next to each other. It was for us, for someone, for us to be in, groups, but for someone to take the lead and others to follow. There has to be some type of submission in a relationship,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And one thing I realized talking to women is that when they will say that they want to go 50-50 with a man, like like I don't care about paying half the rent, I don't care about paying half for the dates. But when you give them the option of a man who will pay for everything, they respect the man who will go 50-50 less, and they will do more for the man who's willing to pay for everything and willing to provide for them,
Mhm.
and say that their femininity is conditional because there's men out there who just want to go 50-50, you know?
Okay. Well, let me tap into that right quick, because I'm a 50-50 man myself, so I can let me speak for that right there.
Mhm.
So what I've noticed too with that same conversation, with the 50-50 conversation, is that the words earn and deserve don't exist in 90% of females' vocabulary.
Yep.
They believe that when we go on dates with them, that their time is more valuable than the 13 years that I've spent becoming a superstar for you to even look in my direction to even
Mhm.
want to go on this date with me. So, like I said before, if you feel that from a woman, because that's the highest level of disrespect, then you cut that right there and you move forward to the woman who goes, yo, it's an honor for me to be out on a date with you right now.
Right.
Because that's how she would talk to Chris Brown. That's how she would talk to Trey Songz.
Mhm.
So most women don't ever get to date their dream guy. So they feel disrespected by themselves, to themselves, and they feel disrespected by the person in front of them, that they would even have the audacity to ask them to go 50-50 with them when they feel that they should be doing better anyway.
Yes.
So my thing is, and it depends on the type of guy that you are, because what most women don't realize is that a lot of dudes want to pay all of the bills so they can manipulate you so that you can't leave. If the house is in my name, my car is in my name, you come into the relationship and I buy you a car that's in my name also, and then if all the bills are in my name, you don't pay for nothing, so you don't know nothing that's going on behind the scenes with the money. So you look at it like, my baby got it, my baby got it, my baby got it. Your baby is plotting something behind the scenes that you have no idea what's going on. And all it takes is, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. For you to be homeless. That one statement, for you to be homeless, all because you decided that you wanted somebody else to run the entire operation because love was the end all be all. When a relationship is a business, this is my purpose and your purpose running simultaneously. You want kids, I want kids. How many you want? 5? I want 4. Okay, let's see how we land. You want a house? I want a house. Let's go buy one. It's all business, but women only look at the love intangible. So now when we go back to the 50-50 conversation, I tell women all the time, I asked a girl yesterday, how much do you pay in bills? She said, I pay $3,000. I said, if you get with me, you'll pay $1,000 a month for your bills. There's 12 months in a year. That's $2,000 a year. That means I'll be saving you $24,000 each year that we're together. The penthouse that I'm about to buy appreciates $10,000 a month. It's $120,000 a year. If you pay half of that, which is like $500, then that means that you now get $60,000 in equity. No, not 60, 5,000. You get $5,000 in equity a year on top of the 24 that you already get for saving on the stuff that you had before. If you don't have your dream car now, I know where you can buy it from, and you can use the current car that you have right now as a down payment for you to get your dream car. And also, if you want to keep this car, we can put it on Toro and start another business on top of the real estate businesses that we already have.
Crazy thing is, you couldn't explain all of that to a woman, and to me, it makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
But to them, I think they would still believe there's a better option out there, right? There's still that guy who's just willing to pay for everything for them in their mind, so to speak, right?
It's just an effort game.
Right.
It's an effort game. It's like me telling you, when we get done with this, you got to do 300 push-ups, 500 sit-ups, and 800. To a boxer, that's heaven.
Yeah.
I get the opportunity to build muscle. Let me take that. To a person that has no interest in building muscle, that sounds like hell on earth.
Yeah.
So to a woman who feels like, I just need to exist and you need to take care of everything, that's where you expose it at.
Mhm.
Because if I tell you that I'm willing to pay you $24,000 a year for you being with me, and you still look elsewhere, that means that you never wanted to earn this position anyway.
So how did she react when you said that, that logical explanation to her?
Oh, she was all the way for it. She had never heard it put in that way. I don't think
Yeah.
that I think that 95, maybe 95 to 97% of women never get a substantial offer from a man, because you still gotta remember that there's only 1% of wealth.
Mhm.
Women get approached 20 to 30 times more than we do. So
Yeah.
that means that they hear bullshit offers
Mhm.
all goddamn day.
Yeah.
So that was like a breath of fresh air for her to hear that. But what it did was it turned the tide. It turned the tide from it being that, because I don't play the prize game. I don't play the I'm the prize. I don't play that game. I believe that when we come together and we both create our purposes and keep going in our purposes, when that child is born, that's the prize. When we win the Nobel Peace Prize as a couple, that's the prize. If I marry you and then I get to go into office in politics, that's the prize. But the who's the prize men and women, that ain't nothing but a divide and conquer topic that's always going to be just a divisional thing. And I'm not with that. I'm all about us coming together. But her response was that that would be something that she would be willing to do, but it put her in a position to hold herself accountable. And what she had to realize was that, and what all women realize, is that we live two different lives.
Yeah. Mhm.
So when I talk about that, they have a fear. Women have a financial fear. of hitting rock bottom. But you can't hit rock bottom when your credit is on autopilot, when your passive income is on autopilot, and when your active income is on autopilot.
My whole thing is I think women do have financial fear, but I think that also stems from them just like being really bad with money. If I'm totally honest, man, like 80 to 90% of the consumer debt out there in America is owned by women.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you ever experienced this, but um when you try to talk something financial with the women, it's met with some type of like anger or like, why are you talking to me about this? Like you're not like as a man, you're not supposed to ask them about their finances. But I think it's a really good question, especially as a man, if you're serious about a woman to get to know her finances and to get to know the type of habits she has, the type of woman you're dealing with, and if she has any debt that could potentially affect you. Because when you start getting into the topic of relationships and marriage, all of her debt and all of her bad financial habits now become your problem, and you either have to correct them throughout the marriage, or you just deal with it and figure out how to pay it off yourself as a man. So having financial conversations with women just typically haven't gone well for me,
Hmm.
but I think it's good to know for men out there who are dating that you need to have a woman who's willing to be aligned with your goals and your financial goals. And if you're entering a relationship or marriage, the main thing is not love. You don't enter a relationship or marriage just for love.
Hmm.
I think there has to be a bigger purpose. Your goals have to be aligned. You guys have to have a goal for this relationship or marriage.
Hmm.
Just being in it for love isn't really enough anymore. There's too much risk that you're taking on as a man, and there's too much risk that women are taking on when they enter these relationships, and they're not. And to me, I think the reason why most relationships and marriages are ending are because of financial reasons and because they don't have similar goals in mind. Is the goal to build a family? Is the goal to build generational wealth? Okay, then, fuck your feelings. Let's
Hmm.
get to this goal.
Yeah, and that's a very common male synopsis. And what I've come to realize in my 28 years is that there are four main components that women operate on:
Mhm.
imaginary depiction, imagery, aesthetics, and emotion, and narrative. So it's actually five, and narrative. So what it is that the difference between men and women fundamentally is that a man wants to marry or be with a woman based off of how she treats him when he is at his lowest.
Mhm.
Not when he's at his highest, because when you're in a winner circle, everybody wants to be your friend.
Yeah.
It's not until you do a bid and she holds you down that you go, okay, this now can be the mother of my child.
Right.
It's a chakra within us that you unlock when you show us that at our core you'll always be there.
Mhm.
With women, they live for the honeymoon phase. And
Yeah.
that's why 90% of women, when they break up with a guy, they go, I don't know what happened. I never saw that side of him. I didn't know that he was capable of doing something like that. And all of them have this same exact story. And the reason is because women love different. Women love and men respect.
Mhm.
And a woman's love comes with disrespect when she doesn't feel that she is being acknowledged for what position she would like to have in your life. So let's say the woman at the table that took the money out my hand. To her, that would never be looked at like disrespect.
Right.
She felt like she was doing what she wanted to do in that moment. But as a man, we're always going to look at that like, don't touch my money, don't touch my hand, don't sit too close to me, don't do this, don't do that. We have so many different parameters that all encompass respect. So that fundamental difference, a woman to say something wild to you and then say, but don't you love me right after it, to try to encompass what she just said to ration it making sense. Love is not rational.
Yep, exactly.
So we can never, we always have to agree to disagree when it comes to that. And that's why you always have to find a woman who has not killed that side of her, but acknowledges that her emotional state is more detrimental to her than it is positive. And when she's able to do that, then she's in a position to where she can be led by that masculine energy that she wants, and then she becomes unstoppable, and then y'all become unstoppable.
Man. Yo, I mean, that really does sound good, but let me a quick question.
Hmm.
How many women do you think are actually willing to follow a man's lead and willing to become that feminine woman? Or, how many women are actually that feminine woman that's really there to follow a man's lead in America? What
Okay,
do you
so
think the
that's
percentage is?
so I would have to give you two percentages on that one.
Okay.
And what sucks, because it's like a three-part answer, and it sucks that it's like this because you have certain you have certain men that when the women started to become more masculine, they crumbled
Yeah.
and they folded. And you have certain men like, like myself, yourself, Tate, Kev, Fresh Fit, all these other people that decided, I don't give a fuck how masculine they become. I'm still a man. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
So the percentages of the women that are willing to follow became less because of the men who crumbled.
Yes. Hmm.
So then that goes into the other question you asked me about how many would be willing to do it. If those men didn't crumble, more women would be willing to do it because there would be more suitable leaders that they could actually fall under. So now everybody can't date everybody. 90% of women want 10% of men.
Yep.
Already.
It's
So
skewed.
now we can never get a fair assessment of how
Yeah.
many women would actually can be led because those numbers are already messed up. So I could just throw a percentage out to you, but it'd be completely inaccurate because those numbers are already skewed.
But it's rare, right? That's the main thing
Yeah,
we could agree on. It's
yeah,
rare.
yeah, it's rare. It's
It's
rare.
rare.
Yeah.
And I think like you brought up a point where you said like if you go to another country, their whole attitude and the way they see men is just different. And it's like, what why is that? Why is it that in America where women have the most opportunities, the most freedoms to be with any man that they choose, that we can't make it work, and it's easier for us to bond with another woman who barely speaks any English or our native language in another country. I mean, look at the passport bro movement. Says it all. Even though, they could do whatever, but I think at the end of the day, um it shows what type of man you are if you can find that submissive woman in America, and have choose an American wife over a Colombian wife. I just think it's too easy to do that, in my opinion. I think they're truly very submissive over there, but you just have to think sometimes like, why is that?
I got two things. One, you answered it when you said women have the most choice.
Mm.
Women don't like to have choice.
Mm.
Women have to operate in parameters. They have to be on some type of program. Women don't misbehave at work. They do
True.
their job. Women come home where they have the option to misbehave, and then they start, well, I'm a nag to you. Well, let me tell you about your day, about my day by force. Let me yell at you about the garbage. They don't
Yeah.
never do any of this stuff where there are parameters. So that's why when they come home, they still need to operate under parameters. If your wife get or whatever gets naggy with you, she needs to know that you're not going to have that conversation with her for her to stop.
Yeah.
She needs to know that you're willing to walk away for her to.
Mhm.
In other countries, they also have more uh leniency toward discipline.
Mhm.
So, like if you do something in China, you may end up getting your finger chopped off, and that's not a crime. They just gonna move forward. Like when they see you with four fingers, they know that you got disciplined.
Yeah.
So here in America, there's so many fake Me Too movements and feminine movements and body positivity movements and all of this stuff to soften all of the disciplinary measures to where now if a kid gets a whooping, we call it child abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So here, with all of those options, this is the only place in the world where a baby mom can record a father bringing McDonald's to his son and it go viral and people have an actual opinion about it when they don't even look at the facts of, okay, this is a woman who has multiple kids by multiple different men. If that doesn't tell you everything that you need to know about this woman, and then when he comes up to the door, he says, why are you recording me? Because I'm finna expose you. So now look at, a person is only their most mature in the current. So how immature was she when she was creating these children? And think about how poor she is currently when she could be receiving multiple streams of income from all of these guys that she's locked babies in. That means that she has 4 or 5 different poverty babies. You want to know why? Because she had choice. That was the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, people talk a lot of shit on arranged marriages, and but I think that it's very crucial for women to have their father in their life or some type of man that they respect when it comes to choosing the men. Because a lot of men are frauds out here. I'll just say it. A lot of men know how to finesse the game. They know how to tap into a woman's emotions,
Yeah.
and they know how to make her feel a certain way and get her to a point where, she's in love. And one thing I've learned over the years is that women make choices that are very much aligned with how they feel at that point in time,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So if you're the type of man who could manipulate a woman's emotions and tap into that side of her, you could be a fraud and she'll never know.
Yeah.
And it takes another man who has some experience dealing with other men to really perceive this guy and be like, nah, he's not the one for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
I'm in 100% agreement. Yeah.
I spoke to a lot of women. I even heard other podcasts where they bring on women, things like that. Women don't want to involve a man in their dating choices, and it's just so crazy. They want to have the option and the freedom to make their own choices, even though it might be a fucking horrible choice.
What we have to, well, two things to that too. When I did a podcast a few weeks ago, I showed up to the podcast 20 minutes late. I'm usually never late. And when I was on my way to the podcast, I was watching it on live as it was going on.
Mhm.
There was a man there. He had on a construction vest and he was talking to like 3, 4 women. And there was 2 other dudes. These women were hearing what he was saying, but they weren't listening to what he was saying. And the
Mm.
reason that they weren't was because they didn't respect him because he had on a work uniform.
Yep.
And because they looked at him as subservient to the government and to the
Uh-huh.
world. So they felt like we can't fall under your leadership because you probably haven't fallen on under your own leadership. And when a woman can visibly see your program on you, then they don't respect it. So when I pulled up and I had on a blazer, I pulled up in a Mustang, I have on these dress shoes, the slacks. Every time I'm around women, I always dress up.
Mhm.
And I said the exact same thing that he said, just in my words. Every woman literally had their ear on the table to hear, to hang on to every word that I was saying because they looked at it like this is a program that I can fall under.
Yeah.
And this is something that I see that he's living, so now I have no choice but to respect it. You this sounds toxic, but you do have to manipulate a woman's emotions and you have to make her wrong. You
Yeah.
have to make her wrong and you have to make her see that she's wrong. These women feel like that the bare minimum that they're doing for themselves, remaining in survival mode, living paycheck to paycheck, and not needing a man for them to remain in survival mode is cool until they see somebody that's really thriving in life. And then they realize, I could be doing so much better with him. And then that automatically creates the submission right there.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would say is women don't really know what's best for them. Like as a man, like I said, you have to present yourself in the best way to tap into that side of women to make them know and
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
that you're the best person for them. Because if you leave them to their own devices, they'll choose the fuck boy every single time.
yeah, yeah.
They'll choose him every single time. And another thing is a lot of women over overvalue themselves,
Right,
if that makes sense, right? So a lot of women will say like, "Oh, I'm a 8, 9, or 10," when in reality they're probably just average, and they would get along very well with another man who is average. Because there's nothing wrong with being a construction worker,
right,
right? There's nothing wrong with being a construction worker, but it's the appeal and it's the a visual appeal that that him working for somebody else has, compared to him being an entrepreneur making the same amount of money. And it's like, oh well, I'm going to go with the entrepreneur because he works for himself. When the
yeah,
construction worker probably could have been a great choice too, and he was a blue collar working man. You
yeah.
know,
I'm in
a lot
agreement.
of a lot of average women do not want average men, and
Yeah,
that's just the hard reality of it. You know, and that's
yeah.
why it's so important for men to self improve and just become the best version of yourself every day.
Every day.
You have to self improve yourself, because if you don't, by default, you're regressing. If you're not progressing in life and continually self improving as a man, you're gonna then by default you're regressing. Something is going backwards, and you're not improving on yourself.
Yeah. I was doing that same show that I just told you about. We came back and did a part two.
Mhm.
I asked the owner of the spot, yo, who's your dream guy? She said, my dream guy is Moneybag Yo, Lil Baby, Lil Durk, and Scarface. I said, okay, so you like street pharmaceutical reps who either legalize their business or street pharmaceutical reps who still have it, but they're hands off with it to
Yeah.
where they got foot soldiers for them.
Mhm.
You like a mob boss, the nigga that wears a trench suit, kind of like a Victor Sweet on Four Brothers. You like dudes like that. You like people like Ghost. You like
Yeah,
dudes like
exactly. Yeah. The
and
the hood genius, I like to
the
call them.
hood
They want the
genius.
hood genius.
Yeah, and it was so many interesting intangibles about this because I watched her husband drop her off 30 minutes before that. And when I asked her who her dream guy was, not one time did she say her
My
husband.
husband.
So that lets me know where you feel that you are in the market because your husband drops you off every single day to a place where you have the men that you actually want
Mhm.
pictures on the wall. And he's the guy that was tangible enough for you to get, which lets me know that you don't even feel like that you're good enough for these
Yo.
people that you aspire to be with. So I don't give a damn about your imaginary checklist about what you want because the life that you live is what shows me exactly where you feel that you are in the dating market.
Now let me ask you this. If you met knowing all that, if you met her husband, what would you think of him?
No, I met him.
What would you think of him?
No, I did meet him.
So what because I always say this, the way a woman talks about her man and represents herself in public
Mhm.
tells you a lot about the person she's with, or the
Yeah.
man, or the type of man that she's with.
Yep.
And I think a woman that like will tell you something, maybe it wasn't publicly, but she'll tell you that privately, or something like that. You already know what type of man you already know what type of man she's dealing with. It's a man that's gonna tolerate disrespect and bullshit from her.
It was on camera when she said it. We were
even
taping the show, and she was
even
on
worse.
live.
Even worse.
And
Yeah.
and on top of that, she talked about how she used to have casual sex back in the day on camera. And I told her that because you used to have casual sex, that you don't deserve to be traditionally courted because you're not a traditional woman.
Exactly.
And she, for the life of her, she was just like, no, I get courted by the men I want to get courted by, and I have sex with the men I have. And I said, and this is the problem with women today is that you want to be able to pick and choose when you want to be traditional and don't want, but you want a man to be able to take care of everything for you. And that's the reason right there why you don't deserve it. And if I court you, I'm being disrespectful. And she said, how? I said, because the woman who went to school, kept her legs crossed, did her homework, went home, preserved herself,
Mhm.
obeyed her parents, went to college, had a nice credit score, probably purchased her own home, got her car, and said, "I'm doing all of this so that when that man enters my life, I can be what I need to be for him, for us to be able to progress to the next level and live happily ever after." She needs my attention, not you.
It's facts, man. That's facts. A lot of these women want a traditionally masculine man while still being masculine and the option of being feminine, you know? Ah, ah. But let me ask you this. Um so we're in our late 20s, hopefully there's some I know there's some men out there that are interested in pursuing a woman with purpose, right?
Mhm.
What would you say are the top 3 things they should look for in a woman when they're dating with purpose for marriage, long-term relationship? What are some qualities you think they should look for?
Well, if I'm being honest, I don't think that there's ever a time in a man's life from 18 up that he should not be dating for those reasons, because any other reasons that get you fucked up. A lot of babies just come from men just trying to have fun in a fun phase. And the same thing when you meet a woman that's on the exact same thing,
Mhm.
then shit can go haywire real fast. I feel like that you don't have to date like trying to get married with her right now. Like you can take your time,
Yeah.
but you should still look at it like this person is in my life. And if I do them wrong or if they do me wrong, we can really fuck each other up for the long run.
Mhm.
So the qualities that I'm gonna just even personally for myself that I look for in a woman is I look for her to have killed her entitlement. I look for her to I'm gonna break that down.
Mhm.
A woman's entitlement is like, let's say that you DM a woman and she responds to you 14 hours later, and you respond back to her, you late, and she responds back to you, at least I responded. That conversation is over because her level
Over.
of entitlement is letting you know that she feels that she's doing you a favor by even being in your presence.
Yep.
That relationship will never work because if she sees that you have the resources, she's going to put on the best mask that she can for as long as she can until the disrespect comes out one day to where she says, "I've been doing you a favor this whole time." So when you cut that off early, then now you leave room for the women that are going to respond to that DM immediately with
Right.
a regular conversation, not with a "what are your intentions" or "what are you doing here," but a "hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm doing good. How about yourself? "Oh, okay, my name is Marcus. Okay, my name is Amber. Do you live in Atlanta?" "Yeah, I do. What side of town you stay on?" "Oh, I'm in Douglasville." "Oh, okay, I stay in Smyrna." "Oh, yeah, you about 20 minutes away from me. So what are you doing this Thursday?" "I'm actually free this Thursday." Regular conversation. If a woman can't hold a regular conversation, then it's telling to how the communication is going to be with you guys for the entire duration of the partnership that y'all have.
Mhm.
So I just slipped in two things: entitlement killed, communication with no strings attached, and then also I'm gonna just sum up the third one by saying a helpmate slash partner, meaning that when she sees and hears your goals and she hears your visions, that she is wants to align herself right there to say, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what you're doing, let me skew over to what you're doing because I trust the leadership that you have. We still have this second option of what I was talking about, but we're not going to revert back to that until we figure out whether your option is the best option or not. But we always have my option as a backup. It's like having a third vehicle in a two-person relationship. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful thing. And the example I'll give of that is 2 weeks ago, I told this young lady that if she just called up to Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, and talk to them about her student loans and dispute it because they're old, like 10 years old. You can get them deleted off of your credit report, or you can get them temporarily removed until they get the facts of your new addresses, new phone numbers, and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
told her that. A week later, they deleted my student loans off of my account. $11,000 gone, just like that. I sent her the screenshots of my $11,000 going to $0, and I sent it to her, and her response was, "What's that?" When she said, "What's that?" That was all I needed to hear, because that let me know that she didn't do what I told her to do.
Yeah, she wasn't listening.
She wasn't listening.
She wasn't listening. And that ultimately just comes down to like respect. Like she didn't respect you enough to take your advice, you know?
Mhm.
And for me, I would say those are good points. And it comes down to like her being agreeable, her being able to be led, feminine. I'm going to say this: she has to be fit and she has to be friendly as well.
Mhm.
Especially if you're dating with marriage, because you possibly do want a family down the road. So that's always important.
Mhm.
And that respect factor. She needs to, because love will fade, but at the end of the day, she needs to respect you and she needs to be loyal to you, because that love feeling is gonna fade at some point in the relationship. Love doesn't last forever. It's just a feeling, guys. So understand that respect has to supersede the love. You know, if she loves you, there's a better chance. If she respects you, there's a better chance than her um continuing the relationship than when her love fades and her just deciding to leave. You know, so be that man that she wants to respect at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think that kind of, there's another way to look at that too. I think that being in love is kind of what does waver in and out. I think that most people are in love with each other from the first 6 months that they're together, to the marriage, to the honeymoon, to the first year of marriage. And then that's when just love sits in. And then they might be in love with each other after they have like a vow renewal, or they have their first kid again, like a roller coaster of in love, love, in love,
Hmm.
love. But what needs to supersede all of that is the respect that
Yeah.
y'all have for each other. That supersedes it. That cannot waver. That there's no option there. The love, the respect needs to just be a consistent thing that's always at the top. While in love, love wavers. That's going to waver regardless.
Now, one thing you said in a podcast, you said that romance is not real.
Hmm.
Can you explain that a little bit? Why do you think romance isn't real?
Well, I think that romance is custom per person.
Hmm.
And I think that it's so custom that it's really more so, it kind of goes back into that in love feeling that I was saying.
Yeah.
It's something that's not, romance isn't tangible. Romance is an action, and it's also a feeling that you get from an action of somebody doing something. Somebody cooking for you could seem romantic. Another person cooking for you may not inflict any feeling inside of you at all. So it's one of them things where it's so not tangible that I look at it as a pigment of your imagination. Not that it doesn't exist, but that it solely exists. It's like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's how I look at romance, the exact same way.
Hmm. So you think it? So you think it's custom? I'm trying to break it down. I'm trying to break
Hmm.
it down. It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And I would kind of agree with that. Um, a lot of times I've been told that I'm not romantic, right?
Hmm.
But for me personally, I think I show my romance in different ways by being willing to provide for the women that I'm with.
Hmm.
But when you take it from a woman's perspective, they'll say, "Well, you're not romantic. You know, you don't take me out for candlelit dinners. You don't take me out for walks in the park." So that's just funny because I think that the time that we spent together doing things that are more productive to like my our goals together. So for instance, right, if I know our goal together is to, help start a business or, start something together, right? I
Hmm.
think working on that together is actually more romantic than us going on a candlelit dinner. But when you look at it from a woman's perspective, it's like you're not romantic at all.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm in 100% agreement with you. I'm gonna make what you just said tie back full circle with
Hmm.
the earn and deserve. So peep this right here. Let's say that I spend $10,000 on a Gucci bag and I take it to my lady, right?
Right.
If my lady goes, "Why did you buy me this bag? We are working on stuff that's way more important than this. Take that bag back. We have new property that just went on the market today. I just seen it earlier for $5,000 and for $2,000. We can go ahead and purchase both those properties today." That's going to be romantic to me.
Hmm.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to then purchase those two properties. And now she has earned and deserved the candlelit dinner that we're going to take our passive income
Yeah.
and rewards points from our business cards to be able to do, so that this is aligned with our purpose, because I had to get these points on these card by the end of the month anyway.
Yeah. I think that's so important. I think romance, that level of romance. So the woman's perspective of romance that comes from a man has to be earned and deserved. The woman has to do something in place to kind of bring that out as a man, right?
You asking me?
No, I'm kind of just speaking off my own thought.
Okay.
And I think that, a lot of women don't do the things necessary to bring that out of a man, which is
Mhm.
why they feel like their man is lacking in the romance department. When really
Yep.
it's just like, I don't think you've done anything. And at that time where women have told me I'm not romantic, I'll even say this. I wasn't in the right mindset to even be that man and look at myself in that way. I would just be the person be like, "Oh, damn, she thinks I'm not romantic. Well, I need to go plan a dinner."
Yeah.
Without her doing anything to deserve it. And when you start doing things like that, they start to respect it even less because now in their mind, they're thinking that you're doing something just because they told you to do it.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
guys, watch out for that pitfall. When it comes to romance and being romantic as a man, make sure it's coming from a place of she's deserving of your
Hmm.
energy in that time.
Yeah.
Don't
And then
just do it because she said she wanted it.
yeah, yeah, and don't let these, like, the average man look at an interview like this and see that it gets a hundred or 1,000 comments. The women are not supposed to be on our side predominantly when we say stuff like this,
Hmm.
because there's only a small 1 to 2% that actually don't mind earning the opportunity for them to get the level of romance that they want. 90 to 95% of women want free validation and attention.
Hmm.
I just had somebody comment on one of those posts from the interview that you're talking about that said,
Yeah.
"I'm unfollowing you today because you don't give away free validation and attention." She was mad at me because I understood my worth as a man.
Wow.
That's some of the wildest stuff. But what the beautiful part about that is that I made her tell on herself.
Hmm.
Now other men get to look at that comment and go, "Oh no, this girl right here wants men to give away free attention and validation." That means that she will never appreciate anything that you bring to the relationship. So the best thing for you to do when you watch these podcasts is not to get upset about the fact that this woman cheated on her man, this woman did this woman do that, this woman look at life like this. Just start to eliminate. If there's 10 girls on the panel and 6 of them are toxic, you have 4 options now.
Yes.
That's it.
Well, one thing I understand being a red pill creator, I don't make this type of content to bash women. I make this type of content so you as a man can digest and understand who women and what female nature truly is.
Yeah.
And that your greatest power as a man is the ability to walk away from these women. So that
Yeah.
when you do encounter a woman that, resembles or embodies some of these traits that we're talking about, you have the option to either deal with it and suffer with the consequences,
Mhm.
or you take another look at yourself and reflect and decide to walk away or to deal with it, you know?
Yeah. 100%. And you gotta also factor in this too. I told somebody this yesterday. What do you if you understand female nature truly,
Mhm.
if you're broke, fat, limited in your drive, you pay all the bills, and you don't have any time after working because you work a full-time job to really be with your woman, and every single day she's on social media looking at Vigilante, and he has a drop top, a penthouse, he's in the gym, he's meeting the governor, he's on all of these shows. If you understand female nature, what just happened when she looked at my page was that she started a time clock in her head that said, if this guy doesn't get this together in the next 2 to 3 months, then I'm about to shoot
Mhm.
Vigilante a DM.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna start with something light. I'm gonna go like a photo.
Yep.
I'm gonna go heart eye a story. Him-
We'll wait for him to rejoin. But yeah, guys, we say that to say that you need to be respectful of your time. All right.
Okay, you got me back.
Yeah. Yeah, got you back.
Okay, my boy had called me. I'm gonna call him back in a little bit. But
Mhm.
yeah, she's gonna start to mentally leave you. You're not gonna see it, you're not gonna feel it. Because what she's gonna do is she knows how she's gonna be looked at as a woman if she hops from one man to another in a short amount of time.
Yep.
And this is when her emotions start to take over her better judgment, because herself is telling herself, you can't do that. But her womanly instinct in the way that she moves in female nature is saying, girl, I know you see what's over there if you go over there and go get it. So now you decide that you don't want to level up, and it's been 2 months. She's out of there. This is when
Mhm.
the argue. This is when the arguments start. This is when the I'm coming home late, even though you told me to be here at 12. I'm coming back at 2, because now she wants to give you a reason to break up with her so that she
Yep.
can justify her
Yes.
leaving, so that she doesn't tell people I left because I wanted something better. She's gonna say I left because we got into an argument and you did this to me, and she's
Yes.
gonna use that as her fuel to move on to the next person.
Yo, I always say this. Men cheat overtly and women cheat discreetly, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I say that to say men will, when they cheat, they usually go head first for the women that they want, right? They'll send a
Mm-hmm.
DM, they'll cold approach, they'll send a text message, whatever. They reach out first. Women, on the other hand, will cheat by getting the DMs from a guy, maybe just liking the message, making sure that he knows that she read it, and then not responding, but still using that as an option in case her man fucks up in the future.
Yeah.
Or presenting herself in a way, say she goes to the club a lot. To me, if you're in a relationship and you go to a club a lot with your girlfriends who are single, that's discreetly cheating because you're kind of putting yourself out there as an option to other men who want to have sex with you.
Yeah. 100%.
So when that type of disrespect starts coming into play in your relationship, you gotta start taking a closer look at it, buddy.
Yeah. The alignment is off 100%.
Yeah. All right. But my last topic to wrap this up is I want to get your thoughts on polygyny and polyamorous relationships.
Okay. What you want to know?
What's your thoughts about it? Do you believe in poly relationships?
Yeah, I've been in a poly relationship.
What type of poly relationship?
Me and two other women.
Would you ever have it be open on your end and open on your woman's end as well?
No. And the reason I wouldn't do that is just because I feel like that women are easily manipulated and their emotions sway from side to side. So on the day that she's not feeling me anymore and she's feeling him, she's
Mhm.
going to start to isolate that situation and go over there. The same way that women feel like that's what we're going to do to them, even though we never do that.
Mhm.
That's what she is going to do, because that's what women do when they monkey branch from one relationship to the other.
No, I agree with that. I think that when it's open on a man's end and closed on a woman's end, it's not disrespect because men don't necessarily get too involved with their feelings per se, and we're better at cutting up our time and our attention to multiple women. When you have a woman who is open on her end, she'll for sure neglect some of the men that
Yeah,
she's dealing with. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
For the man who's the best option out of however men she has.
Yeah.
Do you think that men should have multiple wives or multiple girlfriends?
I don't know if I use the word should, because it's not for everybody.
Mm,
I'm gonna say that this is another thing where men have to hold themselves accountable.
okay.
If it, men and women, but I'm gonna talk about men first.
Okay.
So let's say that you get into a relationship with a girl, and you feel yourself looking at other women. You see them as options. You want to have sex with them. You want to be in another relationship with another woman because she's just cool as hell.
Yeah.
Let's say on Monday you meet Kiki Palmer, and then the following Friday you go meet Halle Berry, and they both just cool as hell. So the best example I can give is Derwin Davis off of The Game. You remember that show?
The game? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, when he was dating Melanie and Drew
Mhm.
Sidora came into the picture.
This is the light skinned one with the curly hair, right? And he had his light skinned girlfriend who was like a businesswoman or something like that?
Well, she was in medical school,
Medical school, yeah. He had
and Drew
another
Sidora
girlfriend?
was the famous singer that came around.
I remember he had, like, a baby mom at some point.
That was in later seasons.
That was in later seasons? Okay, so he had
Yeah.
2 girlfriends at some point, or
No.
he was trying to go with 2 women.
Well, what happened was this right here. When they were dating each other, they were in college. He probably
Mhm.
didn't have as many options, and he was isolated to her for however long. It didn't say whether they was together all 4 years, but they dated in college.
Yeah.
And they moved in together. He became a professional football player.
Yep.
Drew Sidora, who was a famous singer on the show, came into the picture, and they started to develop a crush for each other.
Mhm.
And he was feeling himself a little bit too much, but he found himself hiding text messages, hiding phone calls. He wasn't necessarily cheating, but he felt his energy moving in that direction.
Yeah.
So what was going on with him was that his natural African American biology of I want two girls was talking to him, but his beta, I don't want to piss this woman off, was overshadowing that,
Yeah.
because women guilt trip us to make it seem like that even though we have all of these resources and have worked our entire life to become the men that we are, that we owe that attention and validation solely to them who just showed up.
Mhm.
So in that moment, what his job as a man and a professional football player on a professional football player's salary was to do was to sit his woman down and let him know, listen, things have changed. I'm not that same guy that I was when we were in college and when we was broke in high school. I'm a professional football player now. And the crazy part is Drew Sidora was Melanie's favorite singer. That was her ringtone.
Mm.
So that might have been super dope for her to come into the relationship and be the other woman that's knowingly in the relationship, and they could have been so powerful because you got one girl who's in the industry and another girl who works in the medical field, and you're a professional football player. I'm hearing billions. I'm hearing billions of dollars. But when you're soft and when you're a beta and when you're not willing to have that conversation because you are acting like a pussy to a woman,
Yeah.
and even though you get tackled by grown men all day, then that's when you are painted as the bad guy because you weren't man enough to have that conversation because she's going to eventually find out.
Yep.
So that's how I feel about it.
My whole thing is like how you gave that example, right? They would
Mm-hmm.
have been a perfect was it polygyny? Polyamorous relationship,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
They would have been a perfect poly relationship. You know, two high incomes coming from women and then a football player from the man, right?
yeah,
But when you start to involve the woman's ego, right?
yeah, yeah.
She doesn't want to share her man.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really peel that back, why are so many men being forced what forced monogamy? Why are we being forced monogamy, right? When you have so many men who sacrifice so many years developing themselves and becoming this man that's high earning and able to protect, provide, and profess to women, and but we're being forced to monogamy. And it's just like I don't want to say it's not fair because these men choose it, but it's the way society kind of shames men into becoming. Like
Yeah,
if you don't do it this way, we're gonna shame you and we're gonna, have a whole bunch of negative repercussions for you if you don't stay settled to this one woman.
yeah,
And yeah, man, it's messed up. And I think that if a lot of more men were honest about how they feel and honest with their sexual desire and their desire for multiple women, we would be better off, man. Because
yeah.
no men are truly only as faithful as their options. If you left a man to his own devices and you told him, hey, you have $1 million and your girlfriend would be okay with you having multiple women, most men are going to do that in
Mm-hmm.
a heartbeat,
In a heartbeat.
you
Yeah,
know. But
yeah.
society shames men, and we've told women that, oh, you have to be with this one man, you know. But at the same point, we're being forced monogamy, and we're being told, oh, if you can't have sex with other women, right?
Mm-hmm.
But can we truly say that one woman can sexually satisfy a man for her lifetime?
Mm.
Can we honestly say that one woman can truly sexually satisfy a man from his late 20s to the day he dies? Can one woman truly do that? Especially knowing that she might have kids and her hormones are going to fluctuate through the period of her life and the period of her pregnancy. Can one woman truly sexually satisfy a man? I'm going to say I'm going to say no. And I think when we start looking at poly relationships back in the old cultures, even African cultures which we came from, it was set up that way for a reason, right? Because the men who were willing to procreate had brought a lot of value to these women. Not every man will procreate. So the
Yeah.
ones who do provided a lot of value, and they understood, and the women understand that they themselves can't satisfy this man
Mm-hmm.
by themselves. So they gave him the option to be with multiple women. And I tried to explain this to women, and they always say, "Oh yeah, I can sexually satisfy a man for the entire relationship." And it's like, no, you can't. I mean, when you look at they get a period once a month, that right there just tells you that at some point in time you're not going to be able to sexually satisfy a man for your entire lifetime. And I just
Yeah.
think when we start to embrace these poly relationships and understand that only some men are deserving of these, but at the end of the day, the man has to be open and has to be willing to express himself to have these conversations with the women. Because if you
Yeah.
don't, you're just gonna have a whole bunch of relationships where the men are cheating, and they're
Yeah.
cheating, and a lot of them are cheating because you can't sexually satisfy them. Like if you tell him, if you constantly like, I don't know about you, but I constantly hear stories about how men are in marriages, but they're in sexless marriages. Well, what the fuck do you expect him to do if you're not having sex with him and he's
Yeah.
married to you, and society will shame him for cheating on you?
Yeah, that's the ultimate level of checkmate, because when you get him in a
Yep.
sexless marriage, now you have all of the leverage as far as the assets. So if he
Mm-hmm.
does go out and have sex, then now you get the alimony, the child support,
Yep.
you get the your lawyer paid for,
The
you
house.
get the house, the cars, the custody, and now
Mm-hmm.
you've locked it in. So when you get in your next relationship, you don't have to work for the rest of your life, and you could just have sex with him, and that
Mm-hmm.
could just be the end all be all for you. But I'm gonna circle back to something else that you said too. Let's say that you're dating a successful businessman and he has um multiple women that he deals with, and you have a child by him, and the girl 3 blocks over has a child by him, and the girl 7 blocks over has a child by him. The smartest thing for that man to do is to man up and
Bring
to
them all
buy a
together.
home for, or create a structure for
Mm-hmm.
those 3 households to be all in the same subdivision or
Yep.
within the close proximity of each other, because that's how it was back in the day in Africa, where the men would live in the center house and then he would have all of his women in huts
Right.
outside of it. And the problem in America is that African American men from the past are too okay with division,
Yeah.
and the women, even when they want to work together, they still feel like both of them got the short end of the stick. Like women
Mm-hmm.
really be mad about the fact that they got taken out of the sexual market, so then they take that out on everybody else. Like, you fucked me up to be able to get better men than you, because I thought that
Mm-hmm.
you were going to be the man. So when you're not the man, I'm not mad at you, I'm mad at myself for fucking with you,
Yeah.
when all you had to do was just be honest and provide structure, and we could have been cool with this whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's another way that I look at it. And also, when I was on the podcast, I had 3 women there, and they wanted to have the poly conversation with me because they've seen me talk about it on my page, seen me with multiple women. And I asked all 3 of them, are any of y'all poly, or any of y'all into poly, or any of y'all willing to give y'all man a pass, or like what level of poly are y'all?
Yeah.
All 3 of them said, no, nothing. No, no level,
Nothing.
none of
Yep.
that. And I said, okay, cool. Let's not talk about this. And then they said 10 minutes later, they still wanted to talk about it. So I just sat back in my chair and I let them have a conversation with themselves, and they're arguing back and forth about nothing. And then they go, Vigilante, why are you not talking about this? I said, because I have spoken. I told all 3 of y'all, I'm not talking to y'all about this because I'm not trying to convince y'all. I don't give a damn about these cameras. I don't give a damn about y'all 3 wanting to know about this stuff, because it has nothing to do with y'all alignment and y'all purpose.
Yeah.
What I want to do is I want to have poly women in the room with me who want the knowledge that I can give to them so we can move forward. On on my 20th birthday, I want to say 2021, one of the two, I had a girl at my house and I was in the back room getting dressed. Another girl FaceTime me. I heard you know the ringtone,
Yeah.
and my phone started ringing. The girl says, "Hey, such and such is calling you." I said, "All right, yeah, pick it up." She said, "Huh?" I said, "Pick it." I said, "Pick it up." She said, "But she's FaceTiming you." I said, "Yeah, pick it up." She picked it up. You heard the little noise. She goes, "Hey, hey, is Marcus there?" "Yeah, he's right here." I'm from the back room. "Hey, what's up?" She goes, "Happy birthday." I said, "Thank you. You gonna be at the club later today?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "All right, I'll see you there." Then the 2 girls start talking to each other. "Hey, what's your name? What's your name?" "Oh yeah, you cute. You cute too." "Okay, I'll see you at the club tonight." "All right, cool."
Bro, that that just shows the level of respect they have for you
Mm-hmm.
and the potential relationship that could become with them and that other woman,
Yes, sir.
you know? So that's crazy. I think that, I think that men should build themselves to have that option. I mean, you can be monogamous all you want, but have the option to entertain multiple women. I always say this, that you don't have to. you don't have to cheat on your girlfriend. I don't condone cheating on your girlfriend or exercising options, but you do have to show yourself in a way where your woman knows that you do have options. Like even
100%.
even if you didn't choose to be with the other woman who FaceTimed you, it gave the other women who were with you a realization that this man could replace me.
Yeah.
And I think when they have that realization, it actually puts them on their best behavior, and it gives you a certain level of respect that
Yep.
most men are missing out on. But it also shows that you were valuable enough to present yourself in that way and to have that conversation in that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Um,
FOMO.
yep. Also want to say this, like on your podcast episode where a lot of the women were against poly relationships, a lot of women would leave a man who cheats on them, right? Or has a baby on them, blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then go and be single and then fuck the next man, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think women understand that when you're single and you're just fucking men, you're innately already in a polyamorous relationship. Because 9 times
100%.
out of 10, if you're fucking that man, he's fucking another woman too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of these women are against poly relationships and they'll rather be single than be in than a poly relationship. But unwillingly and unknowingly, they're already in a poly relationship.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to the choice. That goes back into the structure. And then
Yeah.
that goes back into the power dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that a woman is having sex with who she wants to have sex with, she feels like she's in charge.
Yep.
There should never be a time where a woman feels like she's in charge unless you've given her a temporary position of power that is for the greater good of everybody. You never want your woman to turn into Thor.
Yeah.
Never. You want to Captain America her to say, hey, baby, you take the front on this. And when you're done, step back behind me.
America has created this false narrative of sexual liberation for women where they think they have the power fucking all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
But really, they're not fucking guys who would even think about marriage or relationships. They're just fucking guys who are fucking other women too.
Yeah.
So you lose out on this guy who would have been a great partner for you. Yeah, he may have exercise options. Yeah, he may have had a relationship with somebody else. But if the poly thing was more accepted into society and had less shame with it, you guys could have made a great throuple or a great poly relationship.
100%.
But we're gonna wrap this up, guys. This
Oh,
was
yeah.
a great episode. I hope you guys liked all the topics that we discovered. Vigilante, where can they find you, man?
Man, everywhere, man. But at Vigilante LOM. Just put that on Google, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, and it's everywhere.
Yeah, and I'm going to link his Instagram below and all his details so you can reach out to him. Great guy, but we're out of here, guys.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.